What are some of the end-of-the-world trends that I'm going to show you in the next few moments? We have 36 moments or minutes until we're gone. Well, the end-of-the-world trends are global diseases, and they're going to get more lethal. Have global diseases affected your life or anybody around you lately? Since 2019, it affected everything, didn't it? I mean, a global disease, COVID-19, all of a sudden all of us have become epidemiologists. We all know all about the COVID variants. The thing God says is those diseases are going to get more lethal. How the doctors in the World Health Organizations and the CDCs of the world, how they look at things is the lethality, how deadly. Now, I just got back. I was teaching down in Florida. Not Revelation. I'm going back there right after you guys to do that. But I was teaching the 52 greatest chapters of the Bible down there at the Bible Institute in Florida. Guess what was in the news while I was there? Some fella squirts water. He goes to his bathroom. He puts water in this little thing. He squirts it up his nose, kind of does a saline nasal irrigation. And it killed him in Florida, in Fort Myers. That's just below Tampa, and the Word of Life campus is just above Tampa. So within an hour's drive of the Word of Life Florida campus, a man takes water out of the tap, squirts it up his nose, and it kills him. Did you know that happens all the time all over the world? That disease is very lethal. Only 3% of people that up their nose survive, okay? So be careful about Fort Myers water. Global warming will get hotter. Have you heard that? Water shortages are going to get worse. A lot of missions are out there helping parts of the world where they don't even have water. Global food scarcity is going to get more frequent. I mean, the whole Ukraine conflict made us realize how fragile the global food chain is. Global conflicts are going to get bigger and deadlier. Never in history has anybody threatened nuclear warfare as often as Vladimir Putin has said in the last year. I mean, he says it today, this morning. If you guys have time, I know you have a lot of classes and it's Monday and you're not used to everything going on like this, but if you notice this morning, Putin is arming all of their submarines with the new Poseidon missile, which is an undersea torpedo that goes to the coast of any nation and about 20 miles or 100 miles offshore explodes a thermonuclear explosion, which makes a 1,000-foot high wave. Have you watched any of those end-of-the-world horror movies, where, the big waves come and destroy? I've seen the Statue of Liberty destroyed and the Golden Gate Bridge so many times, all those movies. In fact, when I visited my son in San Francisco, I said, I can't believe that bridge is still there. They fix it so many times. It's been destroyed in all those movies. But his missiles are designed to swamp the first 100 miles of the coast of all the countries that have coastal cities. Well, most of our American population lives along the coast. You ever thought about that? Global conflicts are getting bigger and deadlier. Global hatred of Christ as we get more personal. Global tracking is more complete. It's unbelievable what you guys live in. Okay, let me just talk through these signs. There are 10 of them, and I'm going to try and get done with them in 42 minutes. No, 32 minutes. That's how long we have left in this class. Okay, number one, and I'm going to talk very rapidly. It's all written down, so you can just listen rapidly. There's an explosion of global travel that you all don't really think about very much. Jesus' favorite prophetic prophet was Daniel. By the way, he's the only prophet that Jesus quotes when he preaches about the future. Jesus quotes Daniel. So he's his favorite prophetic prophet. Jesus' favorite prophet, of course, was Isaiah. But in Daniel, this is what it says. But you, Daniel, shut up the words. He was writing the Bible. Seal the book until the end. The time of the end, for many will run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase. Let's just talk about the simple meaning of running to and fro. People talk about that. They're running to and fro. 3,000 years ago, Jonah got on a boat, very similar to the boat that 2,000 years ago Paul got on, and 500 years ago Christopher Columbus got on. In fact, things didn't really change until 200 years ago, Ben Franklin got on a very similar wooden boat with sails. We're talking about travel has been very similar. But 150 years ago here in New York, the steam engine was invented. And everything changed. Quickly, we went from steam engines to internal combustion, planes, rockets, and now 4 billion people every year fly. And it's going up all the time. How about explosion of knowledge? Knowledge shall increase. We all know Google. We've all heard of nanometer architecture. By the way, I'm so thankful. Did you know in Albany, the Nanotechnology Institute in Albany, we're talking about an hour from here, has the most advanced computer chip development, far surpassing anything even the Chinese have thought of yet, right? I mean, it's kind of fun to live in New York. But you know what it's doing? My phone. I love my phone as an illustration. And this isn't even the newest one. But this one, look at this. My phone has, as Apple describes it, the camera. Powered by a chip that does 11.8 billion transistor-driven computations. They call those teraflops, terabyte processes. Its neural engine is capable of 11 trillion operations per second. So when I was sitting in the back and I took a picture of you all for my wonderful wife. In fact, I'm gonna do 11 teraflops for you right now because I'm going to do a quick, no, let me do this. I'm gonna do a pano of all of you and show her what you look like. There, I just ran 11 trillion operations per second. For perspective, 15 years ago, teraflop computing was only done in a computer the size of this building, funded by a government either in Japan, the USA, or the EU. China hadn't even got into it, or they wanted to get into it. And that's now been reduced to my phone. And this isn't even the newest one. You ought to see the new one. I think it's 16 or 18 teraflops. You say, what's a teraflop? Well, it's adjusting all of the data it needs. It's even taking a picture before I started the picture, and after I started, it'll pick the best one, and it'll recolor it, and it'll take out the image stabilization. I mean, I was teaching Galatians and Romans in the city of Rome last November, and my son, who works for one of the social media companies, said, hey, I'm flying over for the weekend to see you. What can I do? And I said, oh, I'd love for you to film me teaching an overview of the course with a great backdrop. He said, okay. So he flew into Rome, visited us, went out for about an hour, walked around, found the most amazing site. It was on the hill where Nero's palace, the Domus Aurea, is, and all you see in front of you is the Colosseum. And he said, if we go at 4 p.m., it'll be the golden hour, and the sun will illumine the Colosseum. And he said, and I will film your clip. And I thought he would bring something like that beautiful tripod back there with that gigantic camera on it that they have back there. No. He said, Dad, let me have your phone. I said, I want a tripod. And he said, with the image stabilization, are you kidding? He said, this is better than that. He said, they're developing the cameras quicker in the phones than they are in those monster ones that cost so much. So he stood like that, and after I went too long, after about 9 minutes, he was going, it was hard to hold up the phone. I said, Johnny, it's going to ruin the picture. He said, not with the image stabilization, and not with all those neural processing in the core. Well, what has that done, this explosion of knowledge? We now know that airborne plastic pollution is spiraling around the globe. They found plastic, microplastic, on top of the Himalayas. That means that the world is dying. Did you know they're now, last year, a doctor, a hematologist studying blood, took blood out of someone, and for the very first time in history, as he drew the blood specimen, and they did the process out of that person's veins, they found nano-sized plastic particles in their bloodstream. It isn't just there's plastic floating in the ocean. It's not just floating in the air. It's inside of us. Did you know that's not healthy? To have blood-borne plastic? Wow.